Hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel where we talk about stuff. Don't forget to leave a comment telling me what your favorite cryptocurrency is and why everyone should be buying it. This one's a bit intense. This one's actually, and I actually don't even really know where to begin with this one. If you saw any of the last 20 videos, I don't know. I have to say a wide range because there's always a lot going on. If you saw any of the last couple of videos, we had a discussion multiple times about how little cryptocurrency, and specifically in these two instances, we were talking about how little Bitcoin there is on crypto exchanges and how little Ethereum there is on crypto exchanges. In case you missed the numbers, the amount of Ether currently on crypto exchanges has not been this low since 2016. Yes, 9 years ago, basically a year after the project officially launched for the public. The amount of Bitcoin on crypto exchanges has, and the problem is that the number's even lower now. The amount of Bitcoin on crypto exchanges hasn't been this low since November 2018. I don't know what the new metrics are. That's the news that we got back then. But there's been news since then all the time that 10,000, 15,000, 35,000 Bitcoin was taken off of an exchange over the course of this week. When the Bitcoin ETFs were first launched within the United, it's going to get crazy. When the Bitcoin ETFs were first launched within the United States, it took about a month for us to begin to get news like this. If you weren't here, the amount of Bitcoin, this was before the halving. The amount of Bitcoin that was being created, I believe, was 900 per day. I think that was the number. Whatever the number was, the ETFs were and this is one of my perplexities as to why Bitcoin isn't over $500,000 already, because the numbers don't make sense. The amount of Bitcoin that the ETFs were accumulating daily was 3 times the amount of Bitcoin being mined, created, minted per day. 3 times. It was 9 companies. The problem being, at the forefront of all of this, is that there are more than 9 companies buying Bitcoin. So when all the news began to just focus on those 9 companies, I remember in other videos I said there's a problem. You have, I think there were 2 or 3 Bitcoin ETFs within Canada. So those companies were also buying. We had multiple launch in Hong Kong and in Singapore and Switzerland and Germany. We've gone over all this news. So I said it's not just those 9 companies. But from the ones that kept on making it into the news because they were absorbing huge amounts, it was 3 times. That then went to, it was 5 times. They were absorbing 5 times as much Bitcoin that was actually being produced. And then that went up to 9 times. And I remember saying in the video, I said the number's probably more realistically 10, 11, 12x. What's actually being created per day is being absorbed just by ETFs around the world. There's another problem. That number doesn't fit MicroStrategy. That number now in the future doesn't fit Capital 21. It doesn't fit the blockchain group. What was the other one? Sapphire. No. Ember something. We had another, if you missed about 2 videos ago, there was another company who just denounced that they're also going to be basically doing the exact same thing as MicroStrategy and buying up as much Bitcoin as they can forever. So you see, there's always one corner that everyone's told to kind of look at something. And I don't know why, but we never get a complete full picture. And this is what I think throws a lot of people off. First of all, if you hear that 9 companies are buying 9 times as much Bitcoin as there is, and I say this from past me, You should have all been buying as much Bitcoin as humanly possible when the price was at $12, $13, $14, $15, $16,000. But that's besides the point. The other side of it is it's not just them. So if you gather all the companies that we know about, because the problem is these are the companies who want the limelight. These are the ones who want to be in front of everyone and say, we got richer. What about the other companies who are shush? What about the other governments? Package all the governments, package all the banks who are buying, package all the ETFs, package all the institutions and the corporations. The number is probably closer to around 15, 16, 17 times per day. When this news came out, it makes total sense. The idea behind it isn't something that exists because it's not what Bitcoin does. But the accumulation has actually changed the way that Bitcoin is even created or how we actually measure the metric. MicroStrategy is buying so much Bitcoin. If you've missed any of the newses, last year they had 189,000 Bitcoin. They're now this close to 600,000 Bitcoin. And I said in multiple other videos, it won't take them until the end of this year to get to 1 million Bitcoin. MicroStrategy is going to own 1 million Bitcoin. The problem is, this is one company. This isn't the blockchain group. It's not Amber. It's not Capital 21. It's not MetaPlanet. This article is about MicroStrategy alone. MicroStrategy is accumulating Bitcoin so fast. It's actually faster than the actual mining output, giving the supply capped asset a minus 2.33% annual deflation rate. They're buying so much Bitcoin that the system actually can't keep up with how much that they're buying. Because this one company is buying so much, the metric has actually gone negative. Bitcoin by design is deflationary. So instead of a fiat currency always increasing, the amount that's printed year on year, Bitcoin every 4 years, the supply gets cut in half that's actually being created. This one company is buying so much. By their numbers alone, they've made Bitcoin 2.3% more deflationary than it is even supposed to be. The analyst said their 555,000 Bitcoin is illiquid and they have no plans to sell. Strategy's holdings alone mean a minus 2.23 annual deflation rate. This number is likely higher given other institutional holders. We don't know what the actual number is, and I wish that people would actually release a lot of these things. We always get, once again, and I maybe it's for the sake of look over there, like that kind of thing. I wonder what the number actually is. We don't get these numbers thrown together. If the ETFs, even now, if you've been noticing, there's been a huge amount of inflows into the Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs in the last like 2 or 3 weeks. What's the actual Bitcoin deflationary rate compared to what it's actually supposed to be based off of its like actual metrics? How much Bitcoin is being purchased daily by all the ETF issuers, by all the banks around the world, by all of these companies? The deflationary rate has to be around 5, 6, 7, 8%, if not more. That's on top of like the baked in number that the actual system does itself. It doesn't make sense that we're not at a $300,000 Bitcoin. And I'm holding back saying 500,000 because I know a lot of times when I say these numbers, I know that probably other people are like, Bitcoin's not worth that much. You're not getting what's happening. We're hearing from institutions and banks and corporations that the US dollar is done for, that sovereign wealth funds and governments are moving into Bitcoin because they don't want to deal with the US dollar. We're hearing that in less than 10 years, Bitcoin is going to be first of all, 2030. Kathy Wood said $2.4 million Bitcoin. This was a couple of weeks ago. She said the supply can't continue doing this. Her original prediction for 2030 was a $500,000 Bitcoin. When she saw the institutions jump into the space, she said 1.2 million. When you have as much Bitcoin buying as we have now, she said her chart shows a $2.4 million Bitcoin per coin. $2.4 million per coin by 2030. Where are we in 2035 when the next halving happens in 2032? When there's only dust coming out of the actual machine. These companies are buying up more than is being produced. Logically, what ends up happening? If there's 1 million apples, let's say 55 apples are being created per day, and there's a bunch of companies who are buying 380. At some point, the apples disappear. At some point, there's nothing left. I really take time to yourself, look at the market, and evaluate if you think that you need more Bitcoin. I am terrified of Bitcoin going to 1 million to 2.4 million US dollars per coin, and you don't have enough. All of this is really weird, and it's all happening at the exact same time. I said in all the videos, we would have gone crazy for news like this years ago, and there's such a lull constantly in all forms of the market. It's impossible to hear all this buying and all this accumulation. We've seen what it does to the price. We saw where Bitcoin's price was in January 2024. The problem is that irrespective of how much we go up in price, a lot of retail just doesn't care. And the people will care when Bitcoin's over $1 million and there's none left for them. Do you understand? If there's 1 million Bitcoin left at a good estimate, listen, if there's 1 million Bitcoin left that's liquid on exchanges, and BlackRock and MicroStrategy are going to buy those coins for themselves by the end of the year, what's left? If Bitcoin goes to $2.4 million, how many of you have the money to spend $240,000 to buy a tenth of a Bitcoin? What happens if Bitcoin's price quadruples and keeps going up from there? They're buying everything for themselves. We keep getting this crazy news daily. And I look online and everyone's talking about meme coins and everyone's talking about stable coins. And it's like, you are missing the chance of multiple generations. This isn't the chance of a lifetime. This is the only one that you're ever going to get that will set up your family. This is one company alone. And for those of you who missed it, MicroStrategy has said they have no plans to sell their Bitcoin. They said they have zero plans. They want as much as they can forever, because MicroStrategy is also going to become a bank. So they'll be lending out Bitcoin to people as another way to make revenue. Well, yeah, things are going to get more and more intense. And for those of you who listen, thumbs up. I hope that you've all enjoyed. Hope you all are paying attention. Hope you all are being proactive. Hope you all are taking steps to making sure that you secure your future financially. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.